Hello, everybody. Welcome to the year-end energies. Ha! That sounds kind of gloomy. Let's call it December 2017 current energies, sharing and discussion for our sacred self-healing community. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. I want to point out that this format is in particular for asking questions and for sharing. As you all know, I do these weekly energy updates in on YouTube, and there is a lot of information in there. Even though it's mostly freestyle, you know how I present the info there. But here, I really want to give you all the opportunity to ask, and as there are many different areas that are being challenged or affected by these energies, every question helps us to understand the larger context, because the way these things translate into our personal lives is always individual. All right, and I want to be here for you to help you translate this. Those of you who have energy coaching sessions with me, such as the Heart Warriors or people who do the energetic adjustment sessions with me, you will have me heard say these things or explain them to you and help you contextualize them with your personal aspects. But everybody else, this is your opportunity here to really ask how this relates to your life. I will be covering the overall tendencies here for December, and of course the new energies that are coming in. There will be a special for 2018 energies, but as of right now, I'm just going to share this, and I'm going to talk about cryptocurrencies slash Bitcoin again, because this is such a big mirror of these energies on at least the financial level. All right, I'm going to unmute all you guys' microphones, and do me a favor, please make sure that you turn your microphone off on your end, simply because we'll have the background noises on the recording, and it's nicer to have a clean recording. So while I'm talking, I'm unmuting all you guys' microphones. So if you want to speak, you don't need to raise your hand. You can just turn your mic on, or you can also use the chat function there. Either the questions go to me. If you use the chat function, that displays for everybody. All right, so I do have background noises here. Just pay attention, if your microphone is still on. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I'd love to hear from you guys how you guys are doing. All right. I mean, this is the end of the year, and end of the year is usually the time where people get a bit nervous. Those of us with families, like myself, I have been attending Christmas parties and all kinds of functions in the last couple of days, doing crafts with kids and enjoying sort of this pre-holiday time. But there's also a lot of unrest, and it is not for no reason the time of the year with the highest rates of domestic violence, of depression and anxiety, and even suicide attempts and criminal offenses. So there is something about the year-end energies that, be it only in our minds, gets us into this place of, I guess it's because we are looking back at the year and what have we accomplished, and there was maybe a little bit of a frustration for most. But for the main part, the reason why there's so much explosion in these last 2 weeks of the year is usually because people are off from work. They're spending a lot of time with other people, maybe even people they only see once a year. And so there's a lot of social conflict, a lot of relationship conflicts towards the end of the year. So if you are experiencing something like that, then know that you are like, well, I want to say almost in line with the collective experience. Okay, people get stressed out about money because they feel under pressure to buy gifts. This projects or reflects into the relationships, or they feel lonely because they are not exactly very social. So all kinds of things come up, and I would love to hear from you. What is coming up for you? You guys are my core group here. Okay, you are all energetically sensitives. You are all empaths, and what that means, as I explained this in the energy updates, you guys pick up on things earlier than the mainstream, so to speak, the collective. So you guys don't have to wait for me to tell you what those energies are, because you can already feel them. What is coming up for you guys, specifically in the last 2 weeks since December started?
It's Cheryl. I'll give you a quick update. I'm overwhelmed because, well, the Festivus season, we're in the middle of renos, and I've turned into a crypto monster. That's not very good because I'm really frustrated. Yeah, and I'm entertaining my fear, but I get that, and I acknowledge what's happening. But I've also had to been to the chiropractor twice this week to get my atlas put back in. And if anybody has ever physically had to do that, I mean, it's so irritating, and it isn't until you've talked to us about the atlas numerous times, but it's such it's a physical thing, but it really throws me right off my center.
Okay, look into this here real quick. Okay, the atlas is located right here, guys, at the base of the skull. I don't know if you can all see this on your screen. It's not a very big picture. Hang on, let me make this bigger. Okay, it's right here. Okay, it's basically the piece there that our skull sits on before it merges with the spine. And from an energetic standpoint, this area here, this like really typical neck pain that we have, is linked with the balance or the harmony of masculine and feminine energies. And it is at the end of every year that towards the solstices. So it's at the beginning, in the middle of the year, the summer solstice, June 23rd, and December 21 at the winter solstice, of course, opposite in the southern hemisphere, when these masculine feminine energies come in very strongly. So towards the winter solstice, which is the one that we are starting to get pulled in right now, it's the feminine energies that need to be harmonized. And during the summer solstices, it is the masculine energy that needs to be harmonized. And Cheryl, what you just shared with like being completely thrown off from your center, that's exactly what this does. Okay. Now, again, here, you guys are pros already. What was there first, the chicken or the egg? Is a difficult question to answer, right? Because is it that we are thrown off in our inner energies and it manifests in the physical through this neck pain, through this atlas pain? Or is it that because of the physical imbalance, we are experiencing this overwhelming feeling? Okay, both answers are correct. This is the thing with energy work you have to understand, is that it goes hand in hand and happens simultaneously. It is not that the one causes the other, because if you look at your energies during this time when you go into fear, when you go into overwhelming chores and time pressure, right? What is it that gets activated in you?
Oh yeah, the masculine, right? Push, 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 get it done, get it done.
Yep.
And yeah, and then that almost builds its own momentum because the crazy of me comes out, and I would tell you that that's my addiction, right? The rush of push. And
Yeah.
so it all balls together, and then the neck goes out, which pisses me off because I can't get anything done when I'm not feeling
So
well.
And anger kicks in. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so then let's add pissed off in the mix.
Yeah. So you see, there's a back and forth between those. There's an interaction. Okay. So first, you go more into your mental. That is your personal coping, right? That is how you deal with the doing, needing to get done for whatever reason, that gets triggered by collective energies. This is where the energy updates come in, or where, uh, uh, um, our energy is being bound to the collective experience. And then you have a primary coping mechanism, which is fight, like go against it, push against it, which activates the masculine energies. All right, which then creates an imbalance on here, the left side of your energy body. All right, which is the part that is linked to the feminine energies, the part that is linked to receiving, trusting, relaxing. Okay, so just as an overall sort of momentum. And then what happens is, as soon as we go into a coping, of course, then our energies get more and more triggered here in the lower chakras. Okay, third chakra is the one that is activated when we go into push. Second chakra is our emotional energies that get triggered, and you see there's all these overlapping areas. So the more we go into push, the more third chakra gets turned on, the more this uh, triggers our emotional coping mechanisms, and the more it's this momentum that is created, the more we gravitate towards our lower vibratory states. And this, of course, replicates um, back and forth in between those different layers of our energy system, of our energy body. And when you look at this chart here, which you've seen many times, you have to understand that all these go on at the same time. All right. So let's say you have an emotional trigger, it upsets you physically, then that upsets you energetically. Now your etheric immune system is down. You get attacked by, or let's call it a bit more neutral, you under the influence of collective energies more now. When your etheric immune system goes down, you are linked right back into the collective experience. Okay. And then that, of course, has effects on your thinking, and, and then you go into your looping, which is what most people have experienced in the last weeks, just looping back and forth, and you end up in your primary coping, which is the downward spiral that we all know too well, namely the one that links us in to all these places that we've already thought, or that we thought we've already had transcended. So we are experiencing ourselves back in these red.
The blessing of the whole mess is that with your teachings, I can see the cycle, and
Right.
so I don't allow the crazy inner voice to go on a rampage. I've gotten to the point where I acknowledge it, I recognize it, and then I just move past it. It hasn't like made it go away, because I'm still dealing with 3D stuff and then add the crypto stuff on top, because I like the crazy part. But
Okay.
anyway, so I'm not spiraling down. I still am able to hang around between 5 and 6 and bump up and down a little bit. So it's way better than Cheryl's normal standard operating procedure of just dipping right down into the goo and staying there. So there is progress.
Right.
I like to be able to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I can see it. I just haven't got time to change
Okay,
it
and
right
this is
now.
cool, and again, Cheryl, a personal thank you to you for so openly sharing and often being our icebreaker here in those meetings. Okay, the fact that you can see these things is huge. Okay, because it links you into truth. Now comes the practical implementation, or the integration, as we call this. All right, and that is based on that, you can see your patterns. Be smart about it. What can you do differently? What can you do? And this is now part of the year-end energies, and the new energies for 2018 come in. you can write this down. The two major aspects in the new year that are coming in is what makes my life easier and what makes me stronger. I mean, those are paradigms that we always want to integrate, but the next year is going to be all around that. So what makes your life easier? What are the things that you can shed? You know, like if you mentioned the cryptos, okay? This is something I can completely, and we can cover this here right away. I can completely help you to calm down. The way this is going right now is you don't need to do anything. Literally, we are in such a bull market right now that you don't need to know anything. You've done your part of research, Cheryl. You have.
Mm-hmm.
For those of the people that I say, where I say, well, stay put, it's Wild West and so forth, do research. They're at the very beginning. You already passed this. You've already spent hundreds of hours in researching. Do not try to find the next best whatever. If you just go into Bitcoin, okay, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna see 3-digit increase rates. Okay, so just stay put, let go. All right, that's something you can let go of because you're not going to do more. You're actually just stressing yourself out. Right. As far as some of the other things that are going on for you, always remind yourself of one major thing, namely that there are things that you cannot control, and these things you have to let go. It makes
The other thing that I forget to do, Yona, but I'm conscious that I'm working on it, is to take that minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just do I am breathing 21 times, and
yeah.
that really does work. It takes me out of my spin. Sometimes the masculine side tells me I don't have time for that nonsense right now, but
Okay, but here's the dialogue, the inner dialogue right there between the masculine side and the feminine side.
yeah,
The feminine side knows that I am breathing is good for you. Okay, but your masculine side says I have no time for this. Okay, and when you catch that kind of dialogue, then you know that the choice you're making in this moment is one that is not making things easier for you. It is not making you stronger. So go a step beyond now, just the seeing of things and realize the kind of choice that you're making in each moment. Okay. And you don't have to judge yourself at all because this is a natural thing to do. Okay. And I'm with you there 100%. I function the same way, Cheryl. Okay. But I understand that every time I choose not to go into my heart, not to do what I already know, what would strengthen me, what would make my life easier, that I'm actively choosing to stay in this downward spiral. So the part here that can help you to go a step further is the accountability part. The accountability with yourself. You don't have to judge this. This has nothing to do with being good or being bad. This is all about retraining your system. Your primary coping mechanisms are things that you acquired in your early childhood, not just you, we all. Okay, so you're dealing with a program that is running for over 50 years. And the fact that you have gained this ability to actually see what these patterns are is huge. Now just make this a matter of like internal conversation, as in, is this good for me? Does this strengthen me? Does this make my life easier? And when you cannot answer this with a yes, then do the I am breathing or any type of grounding technique that helps you to stop time for a second. It doesn't have to be long. Just stop. Just see that you are literally pulling your entire system, especially your physical, into this this stress through the choices you make. And self-love then comes down to that. It's a form of accountability with ourselves, which on a spiritual level or energetic level, if you will, leads back to the question: is this a good choice for me right now?
Mm-hmm.
This is what self-love is: to make choices that are based on what's good for you, what makes you strong. Because you and everybody else here knows that when you're strong, when your energy system is balanced, everything else is a lot easier to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
And I don't have to make as many apologies to people out
Well, and it's not, and you don't have to do that much anymore, because simply things become easier for you.
Yeah.
If you were in a higher vibratory state, the way you perceive and the way you deal with things is easier than when you go against it, when you push against it. So this is what non-resistance means. Non-resistance does not mean sucking up. Non-resistance means to get yourself into a place of optimal inner
Mm-hmm.
balance so that you can deal with whatever. Because it allows you to see farther than just the next 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days. Because that's actually one of the big limitations that come in when we are in the red zone, is that we are bound to our autonomous nervous system, and that only sort of contextualizes things uh, or also prioritizes things based on their immediacy, instant gratification, instant relief, instant coping. All right. Whereas a higher vibratory state allows us to see further, allows us to understand that if I'm making this choice right now, then yeah, most likely I'm going to have to deal with some physical issues later. So do not ever, and I'm not just talking to you, Cheryl, but do not ever judge yourself if you find yourself in that place where you realize that you've been making decisions or choices that are not based on self-love or what strengthens you. This is the nature of being caught in these downward spirals, being caught in the red zone, that you cannot see it when you do it. And that's why the I am breathing or any other grounding technique or any other active self-healing technique allows you to step out of the red zone for a second and to look at what you're doing. And this is the moment of choice that we always talk about.
I think the chemical addiction to the chaos is
The
it
adrenaline, you mean?
remains. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
Mm-hmm.
because my thing is I get pissed off, and so that's got quite a chemical rush behind it,
Yeah.
and so it with my awarenesses and my ability to practice, I don't dip into angry anywhere near as much as I used to, but I still do catch myself purposely avoiding the solution, purposely avoiding the feel good part,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm on a time clock, right? I'm in a hurry, and so but I can hear the story now, which is
I
wait,
don't have time for this.
pardon me.
I don't have time for this. That's the story, right?
Yeah, I don't have time to feel good right now, basically. That's the bottom line. So I can hear the story, and so I'm working towards breaking the pattern and also not to ride my butt about it. Like last night in co-facilitation, I was a vegetable. And I would normally have sat there and went, you don't know what you're doing, you suck at this, blah blah blah. But I didn't. I just went, yeah, whatever. And it was done. And that was a nice place to be. So there is definite progress, and a part of my wanting to speak with you about this today is because when I can say it and ego can hear what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
it's another tool in my arsenal to call it out. And so I am winning this, and I almost said winning the battle, but that's kind of working against the whole thing.
That's
But
an oxymoron, yeah, right there. So,
yeah,
but it's cool that you actually see this. That saying it out loud is
yeah,
a form of calling out your ego.
yeah, big
This
time
is
for me.
actually the case. Yeah, that's why energy coaching works so well for people. Because it's the actually saying it or writing it down. Of course, journaling and so forth goes along those lines. But these things help us to shift our perspective, even if it's just for a moment, to look at it, to look at it. And so under this pressure here of talking and knowing that it's going to be recorded and lots of other people listening, that's for those of us who have this, who need this extra adrenaline, that's a really good way.
I also wanted to tell one of the other ways that I've learned to listen to the need for the juice or the chemical rush to come up is I imagine that I reach behind my left shoulder with my right arm and I grab onto this sword and I pull it out of the sheath really fast and it goes swing and I know I'm ready to slice someone's head off. And I purposely have trained myself to listen to the sound of that swing, and then I put it back in the thing and I take a breath before I do something that I'm really gonna have to make an amend to. Right. And so that is for me a way to undo that chemical rush of killing somebody in my imagination. So I have little tricks, and I just, if anybody else has got that need to kill somebody, I invite you to use that, or hear the sound of you flipping the safety on your gun or whatever. But to me, making that be part of it has really calmed it all down. It's just a little trick. I don't know, is that called a mnemonic trick or what? But it works well.
Okay, so for those of you listening right now who have no clue what Cheryl is talking about, Cheryl is referring to some of the mystical aspects that she is very much aware of, and that is that she can have these energetic sensations, or this isn't always visual, this isn't always in a particular way, that indicate to her certain states that she's in. This is something we learn here in the Sacred Self-Healing course, but it's all something we specifically train in the transCODES training. And Cheryl, what you are referring to is the reprogramming on the level of identifying your reference feelings. So this is a reference feeling for you. So when you hear this sound or the feeling that's associated with that sound, it shows you that you are in the active state here.
Yeah.
Forward. Okay. And that's all that is. But because of your overall understanding, you don't want to be there. So you have learned to identify when you go there before, like, say, major damage happens, before you actually decapitate somebody, and to immediately shift your energy. This is what self-healing, active self-healing is about. Now, not everybody will have anywhere near something like this as a reference feeling. Okay. We talked about this last time, I think. And I think, Brian, it was you, I hear you laughing in the background, who shared that you feel a weakness in your body when you feel that your system is going sort of here into the red zones. All right. And other people shared this as well, like physical sensations or emotional sensations. This is the key for you guys to identify your energetic states, is to really work with your inner lexicon, this vocabulary, this transceiver that I talked about in the last energy update, the part in you that perceives those things on a much broader bandwidth but can't really fully translate that. You have to make an active step into learning how to translate that. All right. And what Cheryl just mentioned is the key for you to learn how to become more efficient, and more efficient is maybe a word that goes too much into performance, but to feel in more control with your energy, because it allows you to do something about it before it can actually make you be caught in those lower vibratory states. Okay. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Tracy, you raised your hand. Did you want to share with us what you have, what has been coming in for you?
Yeah, hi, hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Tracy, good to hear your voice.
Hey, hi, everybody, and thanks, Cheryl. I love that tip you just had about the sword. I'm going to use that for sure. It's really helpful. I can relate. Just the talk we were having before about choices, I thought maybe you could give me some insight on a conflict that I'm having at the moment and trying to discern with regards to the choice what part is ego and what part is truth.
Okay.
So I recently, sorry, my voice goes all funny. I get so nervous speaking. Sorry, take a deep breath.
Right, just take a second. I am breathing here for a sec. Let your fifth chakra sort of slowly open up a bit, and
Yeah.
it's all good.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I recently left the job. I think I told you that. So I'm between jobs at the moment, which is kind of good. It's giving me a chance to slow down during this crazy period. I've got about 6 weeks from the time I left my last job to the start of the new one. So I've been able to balance and ground a bit. So I am picking up on a lot of kind of collective anxiety, I think it is, where you wake up with that anxiety and you know it's kind of not yours, but it's there. But anyway, besides that, this issue with the job. So I've left one job, and I've got this opportunity now to do an exit interview. So I've been given a form to provide some feedback on why I've left the job. One of the main reasons I left the job was the workplace environment was extremely toxic. I had a really awful boss. It's really hard to talk about it without judgment, but just to set the scene, it was the bullying, the paranoia, the just awfulness. Everyone in the office always kind of walking on eggshells and in tears. And as much as I love my role, that was why I left, because it was just so bad. But now my conflict is what if any feedback do I give? Because part of me wants to just walk away, put it in the past, leave it behind me, because if I give feedback, is it going to create more drama? Because the feedback would go to the board. So this boss was very good at keeping everything away from the board of directors, so they have no idea of what's kind of been going on. So is it up to me to let them know that the Scorpio in my chart wants me to drop a few truth bombs, but I know that's also ego. But the thought of walking away also leaves me feeling not good, because I know that, I guess it's kind of like leaving an abusive situation where you're okay, but other people that are still in it that can't speak for themselves do have the responsibility to speak up for others. So it's that conflict.
This is a good question. I can help you maybe with just giving you a few more benchmarks, so that it's easier for you to decide that. First of all, the way you perceive things, Tracy, falls into the 1 out of 10. Okay. So you talk about the toxicity, and we can all feel this, right? I mean, like right there, we're like, oh my God, thank God you get out of it. All right. But the question is, do the other 9 really see it that way?
Well, the people in the workplace definitely do. They're definitely extremely stressed and upset, and kind of also looking at me to speak up for them, like, say something please as you're leaving, kind of that feeling as well. So because our jobs will be at risk if could be at risk if we say something. So can you kind of do it for us?
Right. So then the next question is, how much effort will it cost you? Like, is it, you said it's kind of like an interview? It's kind of like...
Well, yeah, it's a questionnaire, so it's written. So I just put in a written feedback about why I've left, and, what could be improved, all the rest of it, just a general exit interview. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can, of course, go into diplomacy, and try to express something for the protocol, because as I remember this right, this is a government or at least supported agency that you worked for, right?
Yeah, it's a not-for-profit, actually. So it's run by a board of directors. Yeah.
Okay. But there is something like a protocol, everything gets recorded. And so, oftentimes in those organizations, it is not the content, it's not what you say, it's just having something recorded. And to say that something about the work environment, keep it really short, really not much effort. Like, don't allow this to take up a lot of your energy, thinking about it, us talking about it, you sitting there and trying to find the right words. This is too much energy. All right.
Yeah.
Think of it just as like, okay, I'm not going to go into the content. I'm not going to get pulled into this, because this, if I start thinking about this, it's going to re-traumatize me. I'm just going to go back there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a remark that keeps something in the record, meaning there is a lady who left because the work environment did not feel conducive for her.
They're pretty much the words I used in my resignation letter.
That's it. And is there any improvements that can be done? Absolutely. If you have a personal opinion about that, like, you know, whether it's the leadership in there or whatever, you can throw that in one more sentence. But I would not spend more than 2 sentences on this and get this out of your system, Tracy.
Yeah, you know? Feels like a purging, like I need the purge. But how, you know, do I say this person is actually, you know, indulging in bullying and angry and aggressive and rude behaviours, or because it is, and it's not right and it's not good, but is that then going to create a problem by saying that? I've got evidence to back it up, but I don't want to have to go in. I want to just put it all behind me, but then I feel like I'm letting everybody down, including kind of justice
but that's not
by walking away.
That's not your responsibility. I see where you're coming from, but the whole point is that if you put yourself on the line there in an organization that obviously does not really go into feedback with their employees, okay, how they're feeling, okay, you're up against the system here, okay, do you want to be the mentor, you know, no, you know, but you can make a remark, and you can indicate that there is a person, if it is one specific person, but from an energetic standpoint, in this setting, knowing some of the details that you have, I would not recommend to personalize this, because you are too sensitive energetically. You will have to deal with the ramifications. While you now in a transition and you want to be open for your new workplace, get those energies out of your system. Make a remark that if anybody actually reads what you write, that they may want to follow up on it, but leave this up to them.
Yeah. Well, I've decided I'm not going to follow up on anything anyway. It will be final and purging, and this is what I've got to say. Do with it what you will. Goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you can say it with the intensity that you would like to, so that you can purge it, but I would not make a witch hunt out of it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I get it. And that's the trouble I'm having, how to express, so not have my ego wanting her to be held accountable. Is it my ego wanting her to be held accountable? Because obviously a fair portion of it is, but there's also those energies of feeling that the truth needs to be seen as well. But again, it's that ego.
But without going into your own ego, because the point is, when you work in environments or live in environments, the same applies to relationships. It's not one person.
No.
Now, it is one person that can trigger a lot in others, and therefore, if you remove one person, you can sometimes shift the entire energy of, you know, an entire office, or if you make shifts and within the relationship, you can change the whole relationship, but. You know, if this would have been something, if you would have decided to stay there and work through this, where it would have been worthwhile to work with that, to go to your superior and say, look, this is really a toxic person. But since you've already decided to leave that environment, do not leave it there. Make sure that you walk out in a consolidated state, Tracy. Don't leave anything there.
No, it's gone. And I was there for 22 years, so it's a big part of my life. So that's that whole transition period as well. But do you know what, Jona? It was so cool, because literally the day that I came home, sat on my bed crying and went, that's it, I'm quitting. I've made the decision, I'm leaving. Within 3 hours, my phone rang with a job offer from another organisation. I didn't even have to interview or give a resume or anything. They just said, please come and work for us.
Talking about manifesting and being ready. Sometimes it's a matter of timing. So you listen to your inner guidance there and make the right choice at the right time. Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now make sure that you have good closure. And for closure, you don't need to change something that you've already decided that you're stepping out of.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
You know, if these people that are still there, if they want to change something, they need to step up.
their journey. Yeah.
Right. And if they also decide to leave, then sometimes that's what it takes in a company to make the superiors aware that there's something that needs to be changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it has to get that far. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
You.
for asking.
You know, this is Brian. You know, I've been in similar situations that Tracy expressed, and also found from looking within that some of my white shadow was kicking in as well. Like I wanted to save people. And it took me a while. It took me a while to really accept that that was a part of me, and how I was drawing those situations to myself within the work environment, or certainly contributed to it, along with the other factors that were mentioned. And so it took a while to break the habit of wanting to automatically put on the spandex tights and cape and with the big B symbol on the chest and da, 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 I'm going to save you, or
Right.
help you out, that kind of stuff.
This is, however, Brian, something, the white shadow, or trying to save people, especially in this work environment, is something that has to do with us being able to access our higher vibratory abilities better when it's for others than for ourselves. So it's kind of normal, that this part in us feels activated when we see injustice happening to others. However, it's only a white shadow aspect when we do this for the wrong reasons, and when we actually miss out on doing this for ourselves. Okay, so when it comes to saving other people, the golden rule is as simple as that: put the oxygen mask on yourself first, before you even think about others. But the way our energy system is structured, when we dissociate from ourselves, it's often easier for us to access our higher vibratory skills. That's why many of us have so much pride in being of service to others. But this is also the root of our codependency. We then externalize our the feeling and the validation of ourselves through others, and we become dependent on validation from the outside. So it also represents sort of the cause for our externalization of powers. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely.
Sure. It's a tricky thing, wanting to
that's why I
others.
discovered. Yeah, that's why I discovered it was a delicate balance, so to speak. It took me a while to discern all of that.
Yeah. The solution out of this is to become it. To be it. And then your mere presence or absence, for that matter, motivates the environment, be it the work environment or the relationship, to heal, to vibrate higher, to shift.
Well, as Cheryl was sharing earlier, my fail-safe button has definitely been the I am breathing. And there may be work situations where I can't take time out to do 21 times, but I've got it down to where I'm able to just do it like 3 or 4 times. And it definitely helps me put the pause button on, so to speak, to where I can make a choice that works for me. When I pause, also the choice is to feel in to what the answer is, as opposed to mentally trying to figure it out. And usually, it's that rule that we've all talked about. If it comes to you in a nanosecond, it's probably, and it feels right, it's probably the way to go, as opposed to if you keep thinking about it over and over again.
Well, I mean, here I have to call for caution, because a lot of us, when we're in the red zone, we are very reactive. And so the first thing that comes in is not necessarily the higher vibratory thing. Okay. So we need to know where we're at. See, if we are in a good, consolidated and harmonious space with ourselves, then usually the first thing that comes in, if we, for instance, ask ourselves the question, what do I need right now? or what can make my life easier, or what can make me stronger, then chances are that you get a good answer, an answer that is energetically conducive for you, because your energy vibrates higher than truth. If you are already caught in the red zone, and you ask yourself, what's the solution, right? Then the answer will immediately be to change something on the outside, to remove a person, to blame it onto somebody else. So it depends on where we're at. Okay, so if we're in a lower vibratory state, it is more the calming down and the seeking, the silence that can help us to shift our energy higher first, and then to go into choice mode. When we in a good state already, then choices come to us almost like little miracles, like we don't have to think about it at all. I think this is what you were just referring to. For someone who has a tendency to go into mental looping, as soon as you recognize that you're going into this like circular thinking motion, going back and forth, keeping evaluating the backs and forths and the pros and cons, that's when you need to stop it, because that's not going to get you to a solution or to a choice that is based on your higher vibratory energies. Mental looping is in 5 and 4. All right, so that's in that regards, I agree with you to not go into this overthinking of things. But when we are already in these red zone or states, then we won't be able to see that. So we have to slow down, stop for a second. And that's where the I am breathing comes in, because that can help us to just, like as Americans say, take a breather, and then your energy automatically moves towards the center, towards the harmony again, especially for those of you who have been practicing this for a long time, because this is the muscle memory that you're building through all these meditations and transmissions, is that your system now begins to form new defaults. It will go into convergence, it will go into centering, into harmony. If you just catch that moment, like Cheryl said earlier, to remember, to slow down and take a breather and center your energies. Thank you for sharing, Brian. Denise, did you want to share about your experiences, energies that are coming in for you, to stuff that you're dealing with right now?
Yeah. Well, the last 2 months or month and a half, it's been really crazy, and I feel like all of my patterns came up.
Okay. Hang on a second. Can you move just a little further away from your microphone?
Oh yeah. Is that better? Is that better?
That's better. Yes. Much better.
Thank you.
So what did you say? All your craziness is coming forward? Is that what I heard? Or what?
Yeah, it has come forward, but somehow there's a shift going on in the last week for me. More, I don't know, blue and green and greenish. I mean, it bounces back and up, and I just want to say thank you for all the support. And I'm not really sure what's going on, because I'm like integrating and processing, but I just want to recognize that there's like these patterns that have played out all of my life, and I can recognize that like I'm not the only one, that we all are going through these. But then the new ways or new references, like you mentioned, are like also taking place, and I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you guys, everybody, for sharing, how you're feeling more empowered to actually see your patterns and perhaps see them as they are going on, because quite frankly, this is probably the best insurance policy for you for the future. As we're standing on the brink of a lot of shifts and changes, not just sort of on a political or financial or earth changes, but also in our personal lives. And what is happening here, and this is coming in very strongly now, here too, is the middle of December and the end of December, and that is the need to really be connected with our center. So everything that you guys have been practicing can now actually begin to pay out for you. This is why I give these upbeat messages with the energy updates, because yes, it is a bit challenging, but you guys already have the tools. All right. And so that means that you know, we talked a lot about choices and things like this, you know, that you see that you even have a choice. The majority of people around you will not feel that they have a choice. They will feel powerless and helpless. And the anxiety that you guys mentioned is coming in through everybody picking up precognitively, meaning unconsciously, without being aware of it, that there is a big shift ahead. And this triggers uncertainty. And when people get triggered in, you know, in form of uncertainty, no matter how this comes in, whether it comes in through, you know, you reading the news or having, you know, reading up on conspiracy theories or watching YouTube videos or talking to people at work or being surrounded by people who are basically in a state of anxiety or depression, then, you know, your energy gets triggered to vibrate lower as well. So the fact that you can see some of these patterns is huge. Now you've got to make this step into the integration, into the implementation. And that means, where in my life am I engaging in activities? And this could be anything from, you know, what I just mentioned, you know, watching a certain kind of movies, surrounding myself with certain kind of people, and living or working in an environment that are not conducive to me. This is making my life harder because it keeps on triggering my lower vibratory stuff, which by now you guys hopefully have accepted that this is just part of the normal human condition. So it's not about eradicating our fear, our anger, our pain, or even, you know, some of the coping mechanisms that we've developed. It's about out-vibrating them. And as the whole entire world is now going into this shift energy, there will be a sort of no matter where you go, right? You're going to feel confronted with that. And you have to really know how to go in your center. So specifically here in December right now, there's a window of opportunity. And this is the key word for it this month, the window of opportunity to learn how to feel and fully connect with this higher vibrational part of you, you know, that true self part of you that is not really bound to the 3D reality, and to access the information and the skills that are located there. These skills are all there. They do exist in you. These higher vibratory states, they exist in you. But for the most part, we have been fragmenting and compartmentalizing them out of our lives because we cannot see how we can, you know, implement, like, say, abundance or healing or true love in a world where nobody or hardly anybody lives according to those. So you are now experiencing this conflict or this bifurcation that I talk so much about consciously. You can see this now. And this is your step into your freedom out of the karmic collective experience. All right, so this is the deeper transformation process has begun. And deeper transformation means that this is not just about changing jobs. This is not just about ending a relationship. This is more. This is about you really coming out of the woodwork with what your true passion is, what your calling is. What, if you were given the choice right now, would be worth it for you to dedicate your life to devote yourself to? this is a deeper transformation that is happening right now. Because if you can see this window of opportunity and you devote yourself to your true calling, be it true love, be it healing, be it abundance, be it joy, and really being in this state of enjoying your life, and you fully dedicate yourself to this, it will be supported. Then you are on an upward spiral, meaning that every choice that you make will be self-propelled because it's based on this inner guidance that we talked about with Tracy earlier, kicking in at the right time. You guys are now moving from true self-interventions, meaning things that seemingly just happen to you, into true self-guidance, interaction with your true self. And this is what you're feeling right now. So everything that is not resonating on this level, everything that is really untrue to you, comes forward now. That's why this is challenging. So if you're asking me, this window of opportunity that we are experiencing right now is supposed to be an eye-opener for you. Take notes, even if you just, do it in bullet points, because what is coming up for you right now is the very thing that does not resonate with your higher purpose. Simplified, of course, because there's many layers to it. So you may experience relationship issues right now, and it may not be the partner, him or herself, that is the issue. It is the pattern behind that. But the fact that you have attracted this kind of relationship issue in your life, or that it's coming forward for you right now, is showing you the core, the key for you, where you need to recontextualize your goals and develop a new strategy. And the two main things that are coming in here in December, and this is beautiful what you shared, because this is exactly reflecting that, is the fear of loss or the fear of missing out, depending on sort of what personality type we are, or the fear of letting somebody down, and the need to, and now I'm talking seriously, I'm not just talking sort of new agey, light worker, blah, blah, aligning to feminine energies within. This is the strongest source of power that you have, regardless of whether you're a woman or a man. If you can align to the feminine energies that want to come in, like the allowing, the giving things space, the calming down, the nurturing, and making choices based on what makes me stronger, what makes me feel more in line and more connected, then you are linked into, or at least you're creating the better condition to be linked into your true self miracles, as I want to call them, because this window of opportunities is a window for miracles. What this entails here is, of course, a recap, and in some cases a painful realization that we have been violating some of our core values. And this is where this arrow is pointing at. It's pointing at your core values and the quality of your life. Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Do you have manifested a life that expresses love? Are you in a place of active self-healing? Are you in a place of actively aligning to abundance? Those are the values, the core values that we all have. This is where we want to be. Are you in collaboration, in synergy with you, in harmony with your environment, the people that you work with, the relationship that you have? not in the content. In the content, there will always be issues that need to be resolved, but in the overall context, those are the only questions that matter now. And if you can align yourself to these, then your energy is going, or has that opportunity to really shift a whole other level. This level here is where miracles take place. And miracles are not some mystical healings that happen. Miracles are things that happen based on your alignment, on your intention. But intention is, if it stays, in the mental, conceptual, it's located here. But if it turns into your devotion, then it bumps your energy up to here. Devoting yourself to self-love, to the expression of love, to abundance, healing, and joy. And what I mean with that is, it's almost like declaring yourself in front of your true self and say, you know what? I don't have time to deal with this shit. I'm not going to do all this wavering and dithering around anymore. I only want what is true to me. I only want what is conducive for me. And if it's not, then I rather live without. And I know that if I make my choices based on those values, I'm always going to be provided for, simply due to the resonance of my energy body, because it will attract situations, people, and opportunities into my life as soon as I let go of whatever it is that is holding me back. That's what a miracle is. So some of the practical parts of that have to do with proactiveness. Okay? And since you guys are all, or have been working on this for years, you have accumulated a lot of these tools that you need to embody your true self. These last weeks here of this year provide us with very valuable lessons as to what these parts in us are that we have been suppressing or that we have not been willing to deal with, which is pretty much the same thing. And what happens, where does our system go when it doesn't want to deal with something, or when it can't deal with something? Okay, I do want to put this little disclaimer in here. It may have not been the right timing before, or we may have not been ready. But if we can feel this impulse, and if we can feel the proactiveness that is coming in right now, then we can see how or what we have been almost surgically removing out of our spiritual journey here. As to, yeah, I deal with everything else but, and that is your lesson in the month of December. What are the things that you have not been dealing with? Because this is where your coping comes in, and this is sort of the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end, not end, of course, but the beginning of the downward spiral is when there is something that you can already feel that you need to deal with, but you choose not to. And then you go into coping instead. So on the practical level, all you got to ask yourself when you deal with a challenge right now is, am I dealing with this, or am I just coping? Am I just trying to get through this? Pushing through? Muscling through, like Cheryl said, I don't have time to feel good. I don't have time to go into healing. I don't have time to connect with myself. I don't have time to love. That's coping. Because really what you're doing, what you're saying to yourself is like, I don't have time to be happy. I don't have time to love myself. I don't have time to live according to my core values. So every time when we avoid, suppress, and don't want to deal with something, we go into coping. And as soon as you land in your coping, be it in a relationship or with yourself, you are going downward. And I want to point out a few markers here for you. The pillars of a happy, fulfilled, and abundant life are trust. Hang on, let me erase that. Get a new pen. Oops. Okay. Our trust, respect, accountability, and truth itself as the foundation for those. So respect is what gets you past your looping. Trust is what gets you, or what allows you to let go. Accountability is what keeps you above truth. These are the pillars of higher vibratory living. Okay. So in other words, whenever you are faced with a problem, all you got to ask yourself, is this based on respect? Is this based on trust? Is this based on accountability? Is this based on truth? No, if one of these is not there, you're most likely in a red state. And what do you do when you're in a red state? You got to stop the whole machinery, because as soon as you recognize that you are going downward, into the red zone, you really don't need to ask yourself anymore what you can do or what the solution is, because any solution that you can come up with, any choice that you can come up with in these red zones is going to move you away from your goals. It will pull you further down.
Jona, how did you start the whole machinery when you go into red zone? I mean,
this is different for everyone. And thank you for asking this. Very, very cool question. Because, see, the problem with the red zone is that we all have different triggers. And we all have different ways how this feels for us. Okay? I will divide this into, say, 3 major groups of people. Okay? With 3 major sort of triggers. First of all, there is the group, and this is quite a large percentage here within the self-healing community, because most of you guys have been around the metaphysical corner for a while. The first group is the mental group. It is people who understand these concepts already, who've already, sort of adapted to these to this understanding, this higher vibratory understanding, but still get caught in their mental traps. Okay, and one of these reference feelings that I mentioned earlier, for someone who tends to be on the mental side, all right, will be when you start catching yourself in this constant churning, this constant sinking, the constant going back and forth, pros and cons. All right, that's a sign that you are being pulled into, like right here, judgment and criticism, or that you're desperately trying to control a situation with your mind. Okay, for people who have a tendency to go into mental coping mechanisms, this is a reference feeling, and this can feel differently, like subjectively. Okay, but it's pretty much whenever you find yourself criticizing a lot, whenever you hear your critical inner voice come forward, like as if somebody's sitting on your shoulder, or when you see yourself judging a lot. This can be judging others, yourself, or the system altogether. So those of us who have a tendency to go into mental looping, their reference feeling will be when they try to control too much, when they judge too much, when they criticize too much. Those of us who have a tendency to go more into the emotional coping, all right, will feel usually triggered by fear. Well, first of all, feel the notion to wanting to run away, you know, like, oh, can I be invisible? I don't want to be here, you know, and this, of course, weakens, you know, your entire stance and everything. But for those people, it usually comes in with like elevated heart rate, with some conditions that they already know that are linked to fear, but also, you know, just sort of constant thoughts about victimhood, often associated with blame. Okay, so there's somebody that's got to be responsible for it. So this would be a sign for people who get stuck in their fear, you know, and want to run away. Is the coping mechanism for that is victimhood, you know, and sort of creating the situation that they are not responsible for it. So they're basically annihilating accountability with themselves. And then the third group is a group that usually expresses things through physical, through bodily sensations, who often have an attachment to pain. All right. And that is when you notice about yourself. Of course, I need to say here that we all have a combination of all three. Okay, I'll get to that here in a second. But when you feel dwelling in the pain, you know, and you feel yourself, you know, in that place of just like, you know, whining, complaining, crying, and from a neurological standpoint, it's the people who have a tendency to go into freeze, like not doing anything, you know, because there's often also the fear of making mistake linked, but this kicks in with all of us. So the third group, the freeze group, you know, usually has an attachment to pain, and it often expresses with physical pain or heartbreak, you know, strong emotional pain. And the way they interact with another is that because they're all three of these coping mechanisms that then trigger, you know, like whatever activities or substances or whatever that we think we need, they're linked to our autonomous nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze. All right, which means that that they're also linked to reactivity, meaning that you know, that they just sort of kick in without us really being aware of it. And usually the way this goes from an energetic, from a vibrational level, is that there is some kind of pain, then there's the fear of the pain, and then there's the anger and the control about the pain. Okay, and some people get stuck in the pain. Those are usually people who have strong guilt and shame attachments, and first and second chakra issues. The second one will second group here will link into their fear and into the avoidance, the distraction, the fantasy, the you know, not really wanting to face something. And then the third group, the mental group, usually gravitates towards control or attack. So how this feels within yourself is hard to say, Denise, but Cheryl made good examples. Tracy made good examples. So like Cheryl and myself, I am in this group here that responds, you know, my primary coping mechanism is fight, is attack, control, going into my masculine, you know, and trying to muscle through things, okay, and overthinking things. And I will feel this very similarly to how Cheryl described this. I will feel caught in this sort of fire putter outer mode that I mentioned in the last energy update, you know, constantly do, and constantly feeling like I have to go harder, you know, and, you know, not taking a moment, even a second, you know, to calm down, which would allow me to center in, which would allow me to see truth. And then I would be able to see actually what I'm doing. So this is why this is so instrumental, to be able to recognize your patterns, because it allows you to immediately, when you slow down, immediately to see what you're actually doing. And then you can make better choices. Those of you who get caught in fear, you know, for those of you, the coping mechanisms are usually in the area of distraction and sort of fantasizing your way out of things. And of course, projecting it onto others.
In my case, it's fight, flight, or potato chips.
Hang on, Deb, can you get a little closer to your microphone? I can't hear you.
Oh, sure. Sorry. In my case, it's usually fight, flight, or potato chips.
Okay, good insert here. You know, when our coping mechanism is eating, okay, or any kind of comfort, you know, like it's called self-soothing. All right, eating or self-soothing are usually coping mechanisms for the third group, which is to freeze. All I ever wanted is to be loved and love and and oh, my pain, and I'm going into like, I just want to feel good right now, and I'm just going to eat that gallon of ice cream to make myself feel good for 5 seconds. But behind that is actually a form of self-punishment.
Yep.
I see that for the freezers. So the fighters go into control and total mental overthinking and attacking. The runner awayers will go into distraction, fantasy, you know, dreaming the world in a certain way, alternative reality, and blaming things on others. And the freezers will go into pain, whining, I'm so bad, you know, self-punishment.
And then when you're in the red zone, to shut down the whole state, whatever you are, whether it's zone 1 or zone 5.
Hang on, Denise. You're way too close to the microphone.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I changed. I'm on a tablet, so I'm not so familiar. Yeah.
Go further away. Even that's good.
That's good. Okay, cool. So when you are, or anybody is on a red zone, in order to like, you know, like get out of it, we need to stop it, right? So that will be like recentering, meditation, and then getting into truth.
Yeah, I mean, let's not be too mental about this, all right? Because you know, like I see where you're going with this, and you want to have that sort of a step A, B, C, and that's it's valid. And I actually made a chart that shows you exactly the steps that are involved in shifting and finding some higher vibratory solutions. And we can look at this together here. You've seen this before, but it is really just one thing.
Thank you.
And that is stopping and acknowledging how I'm feeling. And then, you know, take a time out, you know, the I am breathing or whatever works, walking the dog, or spending some time in nature, or taking a bath, or it could be anything that helps us to just shift the physical energy. This is the best way to approach it. Is if you're caught in something and you don't know what it is, shift your physical, because that's at the densest level. So walking, taking a shower, taking a bath, you know, breathing, anything, and you know, or if you know more fancy energy work techniques like grounding, and all these will have centering effects on you from bottom up. So you start physical, and then you'll feel a little more at ease emotionally, and then your mind starts calming down a little bit, and then you can begin to allow yourself to feel, to really feel. Wait a minute, where does my energy go? And as soon as you realize where your energy goes, and everything that we talked about here in regards to coping mechanisms has to do with the juice that Cheryl mentioned at the beginning. What am I getting out of staying here? This is the truth. What am I getting out of eating the bag of chips? What am I getting out of control? Usually some kind of ego illusion, that it makes me feel better. No, it doesn't make me feel better, because afterwards I feel worse. That I'm in control. No, I'm not in control, because that's why I'm in the fire put outer mode, because I'm afraid that I'm not in control. What am I getting out of staying in pain or fear? That I don't need to take responsibility for where I'm at. So truth has a lot to do with accountability and respect and trust is what helps us to get past the untruth, the ego illusion. So we have to trust in our inner guidance, what feels, true to me at the moment. And we have to respect that, whatever it is that we are going through right now is part of our experience. If we cannot self-respect ourselves in those moments, we cannot respect others. And then we have to stay in that place of accountability, and really looking at, this is where I'm at. Okay, I am fucking angry right now. Okay, all right, this accountability. And then comes the letting go thing, the letting go part. As soon as we become accountable and begin to trust in our higher self, in our true self, to lead us along that way, that we don't know yet where this is going to lead us, but all we know is that if I make decisions based on the red zone, it's not going to be good decisions. It's not going to get me where I want to go. So I need to let go of the fixation on whatever it is, the pain, the fear, the control, the anger, and say to myself, okay, while I'm in these red states, there is no point for me to try and find a solution here. Anything is better than that. And so I let go and I trust, because I'm now in a state of being willing to take responsibility, to be accountable for my energy. And that is why I pointed out earlier why it's so important to be able to see your patterns, because that allows you to acknowledge that, to become accountable. And then, there's a later a sort of cleaning up, revisiting, reconciling process that needs to happen for many of us, either with ourselves or with our loved ones, with the people involved, with our partners, or whatever the situation is. So you can see it is different for everyone, but the main steps to becoming able to shifting out of this is to acknowledge what you're feeling, to stop yourself, to take some space, and to allow yourself to feel. Because, see, especially for those of us who have a tendency to dissociate, which is most of us, part of the issue why we can't see it, that we're actually caught in a blind spot, is because we're not allowing ourselves to feel. And we can only heal what we can feel. And that leads you to truth and to accountability. Yes, I am super tired. Yes, I am super sad. I'm in so much pain. Yes. It's a form of respect. You're acknowledging in front of your true self that you are in a low state, and that's okay. It is often us refusing to look at it, refusing to feel it, refusing wanting to deal with it, also known as suppression, that does not allow us to shift. That, does this help to clarify, Denise?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, Deb, I see your hand.
Yeah, earlier when we were talking about the fight pattern compared to the flight, compared to the freeze, and you mentioned how we all have all of those.
Right.
In us. Is there, and I would imagine we all probably have one that is a more prevalent pattern for us.
Yeah. We all have the same. This is how our nervous system is designed. Okay. Yes, and we all have more of a speciality. What worked better for us?
So, is there anything consistent to understand about why we might wind up in one pattern versus another? You know, like why am I in that like self-soothing freeze place instead of my typical fight stance? Does it have to do with what triggered the at the beginning, or?
This is the nature of triggers, is that it has no meaning. It could be anything. It could be collective energies. It could be something that you saw on TV. It could be something that somebody said at work, or what your partner just said, or it could be anything that can trigger this. The triggers are our, as I so lovingly call them, shit magnets, have to do with our past. And some of our guys' cases, our karma. So some of us come in with a karmic task, to resolve something. Actually, we all have a karmic task, but some of us come in with a really domineering one that sets up our life from the get-go, often even in utero, to have a certain experience. In fact, I'm actually tempted to say that those of us who have really strong traumatic experiences at a very early stage of our life tend to have a stronger karmic attachment. All right, but then it's really what we accumulate as experiences throughout our life, because our autonomous nervous system, just to explain this here in conjunction with those different layers of density that we have, the physical, the emotional, the mental, this is all just bound to our physical, to our 3D life. Okay, when we die, all these memories of these nervous, the neurons basically, that store memories, they die. So this is really just linked to our current and past experience. So it's like a database that gets opened up the day that you were born, and that links into the nervous system. So what triggers us is not what matters. What matters is for you to understand what your primary coping mechanisms are based on. And that can actually help you to reverse engineer where you're at. Does that make sense?
So when you say what they're based on, you mean the like initial experiences or set up? Okay.
So someone who is, who tends to go into coping mechanisms that relate to freezing, and this is here, comply with inner death, comply with death. It's basically like sort of cutting yourself off from source. Bam, right there. You have to cut yourself off from source to freeze. And the problem with that is that if this is part of our primary coping mechanism, all the others cut us off from source as well. But this cuts us off from life itself, which is why it's often so self-destructive and self-punishing.
Can you send us this slide? I don't think this is one that.
This one here? This is in step 15.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I can send it to you guys with the recording. This really helps, to find yourself in this here. You know, so again, the freezers, they'll end up down here. If this is your primary coping mechanisms will be self-destructive. The runawayers will be very tend to project and blame and see themselves as victim. And the people who go into attack and control, who are also usually very much linked into their mental, you know, they go into criticism and judgment. They constantly criticize and judgment themselves and others. I can make a chart that puts all that together. Maybe not with the recording, but I'll send that to you guys here as part of the self-healing community.
For me, just knowing that I have in 15, I have that other chart is great, actually, because then when I kind of watch my reaction, you know, I can kind of go in and see.
You know what? I can actually do this right now. Here. I'm sending this file to all of you guys. I'm uploading this as a handout. Okay, so there is a thing that must have appeared on your screen right now, somewhere, under the tab of handouts. It's this very slide, the fight, flight, or freeze.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, so what's coming in, so here at the end of the year and with the winter solstice / summer solstice in the southern hemisphere, the deeper interconnection and moving into maturity. So this whole year 2017 was about making an active step into physical integration. And when I say physical, I don't just mean like bodily, you know, like 3D integration, like not letting these spiritual truths that you discover to just sit there as a concept, as a nice to have or nice to be, but to actually make an active or proactive step. And here towards the end of the year, this is coming in very, very strong. So the proactiveness, and the next year you'll be asked to mature that. So all 2018 and 19 will be about that, you know, to really go into this emotional, mental, spiritual maturity. And all that is there to move you towards, you know, your devotion, your true devotion, what you truly came here for, your higher purpose. And if you do that, then you'll be supported because the outer energies will make this easy for you. It's almost like things are shifting around. Like it used to be us who were sort of going against the grain, you know, who were going against the current and perceived our higher vibratory goals as sort of incompatible with the rest of the world. This is shifting now. It's going to be us who are supported if we can go into our heart and these goals that come with that. If we can learn how to express that in the world and live it, become it. So there is a really, really positive message underneath that. And that is, if you just become who you truly are and work with questioning, work with the tools that you've already learned, then you will be well prepared. And please ask questions. I mean, we're over time already. I just want to cover one thing about the crypto world. Those of you who are still struggling with money, you've got to get in now. There's a window of opportunity there as well, and it starts now. Even if you just have $10 that you can invest. This is not financial advice, but what it will do for you is that it will help you to align to the energy of abundance. You will realize that all this metaphysical talk about money is just energy and all you got to do is grab it is actually true. It is true. But you need a reference feeling for that, and cryptos are a wonderful vehicle for that. And those of you who don't have the time, who don't want to deal with this, there are some recommendations that I've made based on the things that I do, you know, such as becoming a part of a mining pool, which is a slow horse, very conservative, but without any risk, and you don't really have to, deal with the Wild West ups and downs. But anyone who has even just a fraction of a Bitcoin sitting there today and is not doing anything with it for the next 2 years is going to see triple-digit increase rates.
Jona, is that too loud?
Way too loud. Way too loud. So like hold it 3 feet away from you.
Is that better?
That is better.
Does it matter doing it today or doing it on Friday? Like, getting into the crypto.
As soon as possible before the whole holiday craze starts. Yeah, I got it. This is way too loud, Denise. There's something with your microphone. Yeah. So if you do it in January, you'll be fine still. I mean, it's fantastic, but there's such a great momentum now steering towards the end of the year and Christmas. There is so much money flowing into cryptos right now that all the exchanges and the Bitcoin wallet software, they can't handle it. It's just Coinbase alone has 200,000 new users every day. It has advanced to the most downloaded app ever, more than Candy Crush in the last year.
Well, and Jona, since the last time that, since the webinar you did on cryptos, the most recent one, just to share with anybody else who's early on like I am, I got on Coinbase, I set up an account, I hooked it up to my bank account, I ordered a Trezor, and that has come, and I'm working my way through, I can, like, it's funny because like each time I think, okay, I'm going to buy Bitcoin today, I get like through one more step before I get like, I discover that it's much more complicated, that there's these things I don't know, and I have to watch YouTube videos, and I have to sift through the information 2 and 3 times to figure something out. I have to look at 2 things to how does the Coinbase talk to the trade, so each time I go at it for a little while, I get a little further down but it's not like, I mean, the day after that webinar, I really thought, okay, tomorrow I'm going to get some Bitcoin. And it's kind of amusing how much more complex it is than I thought. And I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to be the low end of what you're talking about. Just get a little something and get in there and hang on to it. I'm not trying to be fancy. I'm not trying to do research. I'm just trying to like figure out, okay, what number do I copy into what box, and how do I know that the money is here? Oh,
that's why I showed it. Well, I didn't show how to buy Bitcoin, but if you go on Coinbase, it's simple. It's just one click.
Yeah. And I'm managing to get through most of it, despite the fact that I will say everybody's instructions suck, everybody's support sucks, but I like just
overwhelmed. They can't handle it. They can't handle it. That's why the support sucks at these software companies. So did you buy any, Justine? No, Deb, sorry.
Yeah, I think I can do it this weekend because last night I spent some more time, and I think I figured out how to get from Coinbase to the Trezor, and that was the piece I needed to have in place before and I'm gonna do like a little purchase first, like just $10 or something, make sure everything works, and then I'll do more.
Yes. Hey, just an aside for you, Deb. The fees to take Bitcoin out of Coinbase are through the roof because they have the market cornered or something. It's really, really expensive. So it's cheap for whatever reason. It's cheaper to buy the Litecoin or the Ether and get it out of there. I'm just leaving mine sit right now because every transaction is like $25 to remove it.
Unfortunately, that is the case with Coinbase because they're a bit of a monopoly. They have a bit of a monopoly there right now, and they're
So
not centralized. There are centralized wallets that don't cost you anything to transfer it. Okay, but I'm recommending Coinbase, Bitwala, and Bitwala because they're so easy to use. Okay, because I don't want you guys to make mistakes. So
when you say take money out of Coinbase, so like transfer from Coinbase to the Trezor, is that where the charge is incurred?
Yeah, because you've taken it out of the software wallet, which was one of the main security recommendations that I made for all of you. You don't want to let it sit there. This is not safe to leave your Bitcoin or whatever other coin you have in your wallet, like in your software wallet. You want to move it to your hardware security deposit, so to speak.
And that's why I didn't do anything until the Trezor actually got here, and I have been working this week on trying to get it set up and
that's why I've been telling you guys since summer, or get yourself set up so that you can make a move. Now is the time to make a move, because guess what's going to happen? Over Christmas, people are getting together. They're all going to talk about Bitcoin. Media is going to go crazy about Bitcoin. And there will be trillions of dollars flowing in just in the next months.
In the last week, I've seen an incredible spike in the amount of media that it's getting. You can tell.
Right. Now, there's also going to be a lot of volatility. So my recommendation along with that is to completely ignore what's going on. Just get in and don't think about it anymore. And don't look at news, because whenever there's a correction, and there will be corrections probably right first week, second week of January, end of February, beginning or middle of March, where it's possible that the Bitcoin course itself goes down like by 30%, and you have to stay put. You can't sell when the course goes down. This is not like stock trading. Okay, there's just by the logic of the amount of money that is going to flow into the cryptos, it has to go up. So every person who just puts in $10, and this currently, guys, I mean, I don't want to freak you guys out, but remember what I taught you in the webinar. How long is that ago? A week?
I think a week, yeah.
Do you see the market capitalization? It's growing by 10 billion by the hour.
I know. For a while, I was freaked out that it was taking me so long to do something I thought I would do, a week ago. Is taking me a whole week to maybe be able to pull it off now. But I really realized that, even if it takes me 2 weeks, I'm still very far ahead of what's coming, of the,
right,
continued gains.
So I'm not a financial advisor, and I don't want you guys to feel like you're missing out on anything, but this is a strong recommendation to all of you who have, who work to live, or live to work, better say, and who've never had a chance. This is your chance. This is your window of opportunity. Okay? There are people here that just listened, and I don't want to put myself here in the forefront. I'm just really relaying the information that I keep getting in. Okay? But there are people here. Let me look at the participants list, who have just followed the workshops. And the workshops were already a response to the demand, like people asking me, over and over again, where I just concluded it's best to do a workshop so I don't have to repeat myself, who made more than 5-digit wins with very affordable investment. So I'm not saying this to make you feel like you're missing out, but if you have any resistance in you, to accept the truth that the financial system is collapsing and that cryptocurrencies are the transition into a new financial system, then you need to ask yourself what it is in you that resists. And if it is the fear of the unknown, then know that this binds you to your ego states. Now, there will be a lot of things happening in the next year, and I will try to summarize that for you. If you listen to the weekly energy updates, you get in-depth info. If you just sort of tune in, and probably in 6 months from now, I'm going to do a total review of the market, because you know, the reason why this is so wild west right now is because we don't have the user-friendly application software yet. This is all going to happen within the next 6 years. Also, the big institutions, the bank institutions, the businesses and the governments are going to jump onto cryptocurrency. So we don't know yet what's going to happen in the course of new regulations coming out. But overall, the next 2 years are your window of opportunity. So if you just buy a fraction of a Bitcoin now and just let it sit there for 2 years, you're going to make the gains of your lifetime. So those of you who are thinking about, you know, what can you do for your kids or whatever, I mean, I'm not, this is what I did. I set all my kids up. And if you don't want to really go into the hype of all of that, then choose the slow horse, as Cheryl called it in the webinar, and just become a part of a mining pool, because there you're actually producing Bitcoin. So you have residual passive income. Okay, you're producing Bitcoin, and you just let that sit there and just let this run. I got my 3-year-old set up. If I let it run for 2 years and then take it out and put it into something else, it's fine. But what I can do with, you know, $100 or $1,000 right now, I don't know if I can do this in 2 or 3 years from now. So sorry if this is rubbing some of you the wrong way, but this is all about recognizing the window of opportunity and also seeing everything as just energy. Okay, money is energy, and the more you can tune into abundance, the more it will affect all other areas of your life. So yeah, so those are the last words here from me. So do you guys have a burning question or something that you would like to know in regards to contextualizing your own experiences? Then please ask. If not, then
Just wanted to one more time send my heartfelt gratitude for all of the time and the energy and the concern that you have invested in us. I mean, in particular, the crypto stuff has been, and I think is going to continue to be really impactful, but long before that, just everything that you continue to make available to us as we each take our little steps forward bit by bit. I hear you going through material, you know, that you have spent time to go through with us so many times before, and yet each time I come away with just a little bit deeper connection to it for myself personally. And I just think what a gift it is to have somebody walking along this path with me. Thank you.
Well said, Deb. Thank you as well, Jona. Definitely.
It's a lot of energy and a lot of time that flows into this. And yes, and every year is different. And every year, every week really now, you know, I'm trying to point out different markers for everyone. But you guys here, this core of people in the self-healing community is what makes it possible. All right, you guys are the early supporters, and now flowing in. This is what pays for it. Okay, so I've always been really big on giving at least one part, out of 10 part, like 10% of my work for free. Right now it's more like 30%, but there's also a momentum that is created through that, and that is abundance. So if I can help you guys to align to abundance, then that creates abundance for me. That's my devotion, right? And I'll live that. So thank you for your kind words and for your dedication and for your support. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. All right. And I just want to, as a quick announcement here, point out that we're going to have the Getting Through the Holidays live broadcast series starting on the winter solstice here on December 21st. So please tell your friends, share. This is what I can make living off. All right. It's not just you. It's also when you share, then you support me. And this is a 12-day broadcast where we're going to, reflect on the daily energies and also channel 2018 energies together. It's just actually a really exciting process, and it's going to be live and accessible for anybody. So you don't have to be a member of anything. This is for everyone. So please share, guys. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Facebook, wherever your social media carries you. Twitter is probably the best way to get immediate, like up-to-date info, because I sometimes share things there that I don't share on Facebook or anywhere else. And yeah, this is the foundation. These are the pillars here of transCODES, and I hope that those trans coaches that gone this path with me are soon going to be able to take over some of the daily work. So guys, if you're listening here, those of you who are in the transCODES training program, we got a lot of work ahead of us, and I can't do this all by myself. All right. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of the year and fantastic holidays. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Jona. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you.
Thank you so much.